Well, I feel super honored to be here. This is a full room. Thank you, everyone, so much for coming. Is everyone having a good Dreamforce so far? Yeah? Woo! That's awesome. Cool. Well, welcome to the talk. This is Salesforce integration made easy with MuleSoft. This is going to be a fun one. So just to start off, as you guys know, you've seen this screen a lot. Just make sure to make all your purchasing decisions based off products that are currently available. So this is my bio slide. It's a pretty basic bio slide. It has my name, it has my picture, it has my title. But a lot of you guys may be developers here, so I like to make it a little bit more fun. So you've seen some fun facts about me. I'm 6 foot 8 inches tall, so I'm one of the tallest MuleSoft developers in the office. When people see me, they usually think I'm a tree. They usually think I play basketball, and I usually tell them, no, I don't play basketball. I actually develop integrations, which is way cooler. I also, some background about me, I used to create independent video games. I was an independent video game developer for the Nintendo Wii U and a lot of other consoles, and I created some really hit games. That's kind of what got me started in the tech world. And some things that I love are cars and music, and then JSON's pretty awesome. So if you need to reach me, here's my contact info. So just from a show of hands, how many people in here have ever used MuleSoft before? OK, so we got a few people, but not a lot. And this is going to be a great talk for people that haven't used MuleSoft before, and for the people that have, it's going to be a good walkthrough, and we're going to walk through a basic integration. So it should be beneficial. So we're going to start off by doing an introduction of what MuleSoft is, and then we're going to talk about how you can automate your business, and then how to build your first API, how to integrate with Salesforce, and then publishing your API. So part of the reason why I was super excited when I got the job here at MuleSoft is that I think that MuleSoft has one of the best platforms for designing APIs. So without MuleSoft developing and publishing an API, it would have been really challenging for most developers. However, as you can see from this screenshot, this is a screenshot directly from Design Center, and this tool is called API Designer. And what you're able to do as a developer, or even as a marketer, is you can basically create an API by simply filling out a web form. So you can add the title, you can add what protocols you want, and then on the left-hand side, you can see we have resources where you can actually create API endpoints. And this entire design process will then generate a RAML file, which you can see on the right-hand side. And this is all done automatically for you. So you don't have to spend a lot of time understanding API design and understanding syntax. You can just simply use this tool, and it will create it. As a developer, you would have to worry about all sorts of things, such as when you're creating an API, you have to worry about DDoS attacks or security. You don't want hackers to be able to get that information. But we handle all of that for you, so you as a developer, you can focus more time on innovating and less time coding. And also, we are able to host your API in tons of different locations around the globe. So if a user is, let's say, accessing your API from Tokyo, and and you're here in California, it'll be low latency and it'll be secure. So, this microphone. So another reason why I love MuleSoft is that creating integrations with our platform is as easy as dragging and dropping. So as you can see on the right-hand side here, we're in Anypoint Studio, and we have a few flows, and each of those flows represent an API endpoint. So when that API endpoint is hit with a HTTP request, whatever connectors that we have on that flow will essentially execute. So what we're doing here is that we're actually dragging a Twilio connector, which can send an SMS to your phone directly into the scene, and that execution will happen when the scene is run. And another reason why I love MuleSoft so much is we have a huge, thriving developer community. So as you can see, this room is packed, but there are thousands of people just like you out there in the community that are hosting tons of amazing developer events so that you guys can get educated and learn how to use our platform. So just this year alone, community leaders have hosted over 200 events globally, which I think is absolutely astounding, and that just gets me super excited to work in the DevRel space. And we have meetups in India and California, California, all over the US. So if it's your very first time, you can go to one of these events and talk to the developers there, and they'll help you with like providing you resources and getting started. And alongside that, we have a website that we recently created called developer.mulesoft.com, where you can basically go and get step-by-step tutorials on how to use our platform. So all these resources are available for you. Let's get into it. So when you're building your very first application, and someone basically goes and visits your web page, a customer really expects it to just work. So when you, let's say, go to Nike.com and you want to purchase a new pair of shoes, but let's say, like me, right, I'm size 15, and they don't really sell those sizes, in shoes. So, I need to message a support agent and be like, why don't you sell that cool pair of shoes in my shoe size, right? And so then there's someone on the other line that is able to respond to me. They're able to provide me some options and then maybe even offer a discount code. And this whole experience then allowed me to purchase the product that I wanted. And so if that experience did not go that way, customers would be aggravated and they wouldn't want to come back to your application. And I think that MuleSoft really provides a great platform for security, for reliability, and it provides that seamless experience for your users, so that way that your application can just work. So just to set some ground rules on what an API is, basically, an API is kind of devised into an API contract and some logic. So as you could see on that first screen, right, an API designer, what we did is we basically designed our API contract. These are the rules and regulations of what our API can do and cannot do. And then behind that API contract is some underlying business logic. That's the integration that we created that's able to basically send data to that API. And then obviously that connectivity layer. This allows your API to connect with these other systems that might require different data structures. We might want to connect to a database or something else. That's what our API is able to do. So as you guys know, the holiday season is upon us. And my girlfriend really is into very, very cute things, So I'm like, well, what's cuter than unicorns? Because she loves them. So I discovered this website, sendaunicorn.com, where essentially you can go and send someone a crochet unicorn doll. So what I did is I went to this website, I clicked Add to Cart, and then I was greeted by this customer checkout experience where essentially I clicked on the PayPal button, I went and entered my credit card information, and then I was greeted with basically this order confirmation screen where it showed me a map, an order update, and basically everything I needed to confirm that my order was successfully fulfilled. So as the customer, this entire experience was seamless, and it was really intuitive, and it felt secure, and it didn't feel like I was being scammed. But as a developer, you guys all know what we're thinking about. We're thinking about how all these different things are basically different APIs. So obviously, this is using a ton of different systems, right? The PayPal button and the Amazon button, that's a separate API. Then, if you enter a coupon code, those coupons are maybe stored on a database somewhere that the store is storing. And those coupons, you need to access them to make sure they're still valid. And then when you actually submit your order, Google Maps you're calling the Google Maps API with address information. That way they can display the correct map on the screen there. And then for the order update, if you want to get order updates from Twilio via SMS of where your package is located in real time in the world, that API is connected with USPS, FedEx, UPS. So what I'm trying to get at is that the entire experience from end to end for the customer, like I said earlier, it's seamless. They don't think about it. The normal everyday person is not thinking about how this works, but every single process of this entire checkout experience involved APIs. So, and then once again, this just shows, right, this is the SendGrid API basically sending an email, and once again, Twilio is sending me SMS. So in this case, right, this was a seamless experience. Inventory management, customer order information, shipping, all powered by APIs. And this is all the sort of thing that you can do with MuleSoft. And so right now, the focus of this talk is really on the customer checkout experience. But I just want to reiterate that MuleSoft is great in every industry, and thousands of customers use us. So we're in things like the financial in the finance world, in high tech, in education, healthcare, right? Like I said, security's built in, so HIPAA compliance. And so even though that we're talking about this one use case for this talk, I just want to reiterate that no matter what your problem that you're trying to solve is, that we will fit your business need. So now we're going to get into the more technical demo, and we're going to basically, I created this cool checkout experience that you can actually experience yourself if you go to the Integration Grove downstairs. But this is something that I created, and I want to share with you guys and then dive deep on how it was created. So right here we have a web page, and this is a mock web page. And we are basically trying to claim our free sticker. And if you guys want stickers after the talk, I have some up here. So what we can do is we can enter our name, our email, and our cell phone number. And when we click the checkout button, it says order success. And let's see, can we see on the top right? Did a text message? You can see right now, I got on my phone, I got a text message that says, hello, Jordan, your order's on your way. And you can see on the right-hand side, my notifications were hidden because I'm in presenter mode. But right here, I got the notification. And then if I go to my email inbox, and if I refresh it, you'll see that I actually got an automated email from SendGrid that says, order success. And then if we go into Salesforce, we can see that right now, my lead information was actually input into Salesforce, which is pretty awesome. So how did this all work? So we're going to walk through how we built this application, this sample app. And we're going to start off by talking about API design. Then we're going to talk about how we imported our API into Anypoint Studio, how we built the integration, how we published it, how we reused it, and then finally how we integrated with Salesforce. So let's go into the first step. So right here we have, let's refresh this. Unfortunately, it times you out after a little while. So this is the first step in the process. So I want to create my API. So as I explained earlier, I was able to enter a title. I was able to choose what protocols I wanted to support. And then I went into resources. I actually created an API endpoint. So I called this endpoint send email, and I simply went into this and I added a 200 OK response. And so when I got the 200 OK response, it said email is, I want it to be returned to the for email sent. And then I also wanted to add that the message only accept URL form encoded data because the form data that we're submitting is URL form encoded. So then I also created another called send message. Hello. OK, are we good? And so this is the other endpoint that has the same properties. And on the right-hand side, you can see that we have our RAML or OAS scripts that were automatically generated. But then we have a mocking service. And this mocking service, is everyone familiar with Postman in the audience? Do you guys know what that is? OK, awesome, cool. This is very similar to Postman, but it's actually built into our product. So what we can do is we can enable the mocking service, and we can actually try it out in the browser. And for some reason, it's not loading. Let me see if I can get this to load here, because I think it's pretty cool. Yeah, for some reason, it's not loading. I'm not sure. And what we do is when we basically test our API and make sure it's working, we can click the publish button, and then we can publish it to Exchange. And so Anypoint Exchange, what you can think of it as, is you can think of it almost as an app store for your APIs and integrations. And this is where if you're in a business, and let's say you have 5 or 10 developers, they might be creating APIs for all these different parts of your business. And so what they're going to do is then they're going to post their APIs here, so that way other individuals in the business can basically consume and reuse them. So here is the checkout process API that we just created in API Designer. And what you can see I've done is I've added a description about the API, and then I've even described how to actually use the API, and I've even given a diagram of all the instructions. And then you can even access the endpoints here, and you can see some code examples of how to actually call the API with an HTTP request. And as you can see on the right-hand side, once again, is the mocking service. So this is what we saw that wasn't working in the last screen. But if we click send, we can see that we actually got a 400 bad request. And this is this is actually what we wanted because we're sending URL form encoded data. However, what we were looking for is actually an object. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a parameter, and I'm going to add my name to this API. And when I click send, I get a 200 OK response, and that's because it required an object, and this was all defined in our API specification. So now that our Exchange asset is published and is live, now we actually want to build an integration because, as you can see, we're not being returned any data. We're only being returned with an empty object. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into Anypoint Studio. We're going to go to File, New, Mule Project. And then we're going to name our project. And then we're going to add a dependency. And what we're able to do is we're able to grab our asset directly from Exchange. And if we type in the search here and we're able to search it, let's see. So like there's tons of different APIs that are listed here, and simply we can take our API that we got from Exchange, click Add, and then when we click Finish, I've already done this, so I'm not going to do it again, then it will import our API specification directly into Anypoint Studio. And as you can see here, a bunch of different flows have already been automatically generated, and this is due to API Kit. It's essentially a powerful tool that is built directly into Anypoint Studio that will automatically create scaffolding based off your API design that you built earlier. And so you can see that this error handling has already been handled for you, so that way you don't have to worry about it. So down at the bottom, we have our send email endpoint, and we have our send text message endpoint. And so we have a transform component, which is essentially a way to transform data as it goes through the chain. And this is a great segue into what is Data Weave. So Data Weave is a powerful tool that allows us to convert different data formats from one system to another. So let's say we want to take CSV and convert it into JSON, or XML and convert it into JSON. And just out of curiosity, from a show of hands, how many people have tried to do this before but not in Data Weave? How many people have tried to done XML to JSON? OK. Was it easy? Yes? No? OK, so no? OK, so I don't think it's that easy of a process in my experience. And I felt like Data Weave made this entire process very seamless. So what we can see here is this is how we would have had to do it in JavaScript. That's a decent amount of code. This is how we do it in Data Weave. So we have the XML on the left-hand side. We have the payload in the middle. We literally just said payload, and we defined the output type as application JSON. And it simply converted it to JSON just like that. It works like magic. It really makes this entire process really seamless for you. So going back to Anypoint Studio, you can see that we have a transform component, or a transform message. And down at the bottom right, we have some Data Weave code. We wanted our automated email to be sent from that email address, and then we wanted it to be sent to the email that the user input in the input field. And then we have our template ID that SendGrid requires. And so we simply send an HTTP request to SendGrid with the desired headers, with our bearer token, and what content type it is. And just like that, the SendGrid API will then send out that automated email to our customer, like we saw in the checkout process. But then we also have our other API endpoint, which is connected to Twilio, which will send a text message. And so once again with Data Weave, we were able to code our custom JSON message, and we were able to add what phone number we're sending it to, what the body message is going to be, and then what phone number we're sending it from. And then all we had to do was drag in the Twilio connector into our flow, and that will execute when that endpoint has been hit. So just like that, we created our very first integration. And now we're going to actually publish this integration live, so that way other people can consume it. So all we have to do is right-click on our project and go to Anypoint Platform and deploy to Cloud Hub. And when we deploy this app to Cloud Hub, this is now running, and just like that, it works. So let's go now to the last part of our presentation. Let's see here. I got to go back to Design Center. And so we basically deployed our app to Cloud Hub, and now we want to connect to Salesforce, right? This is the final step. So our API is published, and now anyone in our business organization can now take our API and reuse it in a project like in Flow Designer. And so what we can see here is that this is exactly what we did. So we have an HTTP listener that's listening to the endpoint submit, and then whatever data comes through, we're storing it as a variable. And then all we had to do is to basically add data to Salesforce. We create a Salesforce component, and we basically selected that we wanted to add a new lead to Salesforce anytime this endpoint was triggered. So you can see here that this is how we formatted the message. So it's simply an array with some information. And this is the data that got sent to Salesforce. And then this API that we just created in AnyPoint Studio, we were able to actually reuse that and put it in our Flow Designer project. So that's how simple it was, guys. So let's continue on. So I had videos, but I wanted to do it in person, and I'm really glad the demo worked seamlessly. So that's pretty cool. Just to reiterate what we did. So we have a layer of system APIs, right? These APIs are things like Twilio and SendGrid and Salesforce, and we created these system layers, the email API, the SMS API. And you can think of these APIs as basically, we were using data weave to communicate with these outbound systems, right? You could see in AnyPoint Studio, we had to create these custom integrations with data weave here to basically connect with these outbound systems. So these are our system layer APIs that will not change. But then we have our process layer APIs, like the notifications API that we created, that basically are able to take a source of information and then convert it into the system layer, so that way it can communicate with the system. And then if we have, let's say, a web API, this might be our web interface. Or let's say we want to add a mobile API down the road. This is our experience layer APIs. And what's awesome is that if you keep adding experience layer APIs, you don't have to change any of the APIs on the lower level, because they're already created. All you have to do is just create new experience APIs for your business. And so this is called an API-led approach, and this is what a lot of companies are choosing to do, because it speeds up development time and it costs you a lot less money in the long run, and it allows your business to run smoother, and it makes it way easier for developers. So to wrap up the talk, there are some resources for you to get started. Developer.mulesoft.com is a great resource. We have technical tutorials located here where you can get started and learn more, even if you have no technical experience. And then we also have forums, training, which you can basically get instruction from a live instructor on how to build these integrations yourself. And then once again, we have a large community. I'm actually hosting one of the meetup leaders for the SF community. So if you're located here, we'll do a lot more technical talks in the coming months. So make sure to join our meetup page, and so that way you can be notified of new events. So I would really like to thank all of you guys for attending this session. Thank you guys so much, and if you have any questions, feel free to come up to the mic, and I'll be more than happy to answer them. Thank you so much.